No time like the present, as they say. I want to draw your attention to yet another image of the black hole sun. This particular frame is coming to you from Pacific Rim Uprising. That other movie about giant robots defending from giant other alien robots and also non-robot monsters. Nothing new, you know. Just like none of this stuff is new. That's sort of what I've been trying to say this whole time. That it's all the same story, and if you get those eyes to see that, you'll see it as well. That, well, it's just more confirmation. There's that black hole sun again. Something orbiting the star, it appears. Good old Nemesis, good old Nibiru. Yeah, nice. What's up, everybody? It's the show. It's the fake. It's the truth. Whatever you want to call it. I'm back on here, man. It's been strange. It's been strange. I'm sure it's been strange for you as well. And I mean, I've just been sort of immobilized in not fear, but just the nature of our reality at this moment in time is pretty aggressive. And I don't know. It's been laying me flat. It's been putting me in my seat. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about today. I just want to get into the news. I want to bathe in this experience with you, and part of what I wanted to do here, if I can get these buttons to work. Come on, buttons. Believe in yourself. Is right. I wanted to just come over to our good old Feedly here and hit refresh, because the news is always flowing just like water instantaneously. It's also just gone a minute later, a second later. It's all just flowing away. So I think I want to keep doing this sort of concept where we hit refresh and we see, well, this article's just from 4 minutes ago. There's no way I could have properly analyzed this before the show, but it still is probably worth checking out. Everybody, I guess if you're watching the news at all these days, you should know that America in general, and also specifically, is sort of melting down. Seems to be in a more melty way than it has been before, but just like with the black hole sun image, it is very familiar. It is something we've seen and felt before. It just sort of feels like it's on another scale, like it's that next level. And I guess that's how they keep pushing us down the road, right? Using the same tactics and same things. So it'll appeal to your experience, what you're already aware of, right? Racism or violence or Bibles or anything like that. And then just trigger all those old experiences that you've already had and push it just a little bit further down the line of what we seem to rapidly be approaching. Hard to say exactly, but some sort of restructuring on a core level, because that's all that I see when I see these news stories. Well, all that I see is this scream, this yell, this huge desire for a change, a major change, a change beyond the scope of the system. There's this constant cry, and right, I'm not talking about from myself or from anybody that I know. I'm talking about right here on the page that everybody's looking at, this constant scream for change, for a restructuring. And also just in general, a lot of religion bashing, but that's nothing super specifically new as well. That's just been cycling for a long time. And I went along with it for the longest time, but I've started to ask myself, well, what is the deal with all of this religion bashing? What is so, I guess, dangerous about Christianity to make it constantly be the butt end of the joke when it comes to the news or the entertainment? And this story about good old Mr. President and his Bible is no different, right? You might have heard this. On Tuesday evening, Donald Trump ordered the area outside the White House cleared for protesters by law enforcement. He used tear gas and flashbang grenades to dispel the crowd. The impetus was a staged photo opportunity in front of the historic St. John's Episcopal Church, which had already been condemned by religious leaders. And so I guess everybody is angry about this, from people that are religious to people that are non-religious. It is sort of a, right? You can feel how well crafted this story is. Okay, well, we already got the protests going on. Okay, so we're gonna definitely hurt some innocent people, right? And this is all of your programming. This is everything that's on TV and everything that you've ever experienced in your life. It all adds up to your reaction to these events, right? So, I mean, we're constantly taught aggressively at all stages of our development that hurting an innocent individual is like literally the last thing you're allowed to do. You cannot in any way hurt somebody that is, right, weak or infirm or young or old or in any way, right, innocent to the situation. And I guess in this situation, you would think that those protesters that were peacefully assembling in front of the White House to protest this whole thing that's going on, that they would be in that camp. And they may or may not be, right? But it's about the storytelling, the narrative building, and that. So, I mean, those innocents would be the critical victims of this, and then having this evil T-man come over, right? And the under... It's funny how they get all of these strings going at the same time, right? So you're supposed to think that religion is stupid anyways, that God is dead, and Christianity is like a fake old for fun thing, even though, right, all of those messages make me seem to think that maybe the opposite is going on, which is, I guess, even hard for somebody like me that grew up on this messaging, right? It's very deeply ingrained that the Bible is dumb. And right after doing lots of research and being here on the internet, you realize that was maybe a little short-sighted, but it's still part of the story, right? And it's worth studying and trying to understand. And, well, what is it about this story? Because this almost seems like, right, even though it was just a random article posted 4 minutes ago, it almost seems like the critical sort of linchpin to this whole deal. This whole thing is about frustration with authority, right? The free reign of the cops to just go and just put their knee on anybody's neck and choke anybody out and not have them be held responsible or in any way sort of punished for any of this, right? And I think that's the message that we're constantly getting about Mr. President, that he's doing all this horrible stuff, right? Stuff that's worthy of punishment. He's going to need to be punished in some certain way. And I guess that's how they sort of control the vibe, the general emotional state of most of the populace, at least the people that are paying attention to this news stuff, right? If they can have somebody out there that is really just breaking all these rules, right? These rules that have been set up in your mind for your entire lives about who gets to get punished and what is innocence and all of these sort of symbolic ideals in your mind, when those are getting pushed up against, right? And they know exactly when that is happening, right? Because they built the whole frame in the first place. So they know exactly how to make you feel off balance, or like something out there in the world is really sort of heading off the rails, right? But and I feel it too. Don't get me wrong, right? It feels like we're seconds before some sort of something serious, you know. I don't have it pulled up right here right now, but it seems like in my childhood mall, right, the mall that I used to go to when I was a little kid, it used to be a fun place. It was a fun place to go to that mall, and but now with everything going on, and you know, the economy falling apart and all that, the mall slowly became empty, right? All the shops moved out, and the expensive chains moved to the next mall exactly down the street, and that mall has become empty. And I always wondered, well, this is fine real estate. How did they do this, first of all? And what was the point? Why would they build this mall only to have all the stores move just a couple blocks down the street to this new mall? And I sort of chalked it up to just general, you know, consumer culture, people being bored with something and then having to move on to the next thing. And it seemed like, well, just for every 5 to 10 years, they're going to build a new mall down the block, and then everything's going to get a little bit fancier and just move a little bit down the street, and then we'll go from there. And that definitely still seems to be part of the agenda. But I recently did see an image of the army, right? Some Humvee with the guns and fatigues and all that, and they're hanging out outside of this old mall, the old abandoned mall at this point, that is just has ridiculous amounts of space ready to house all sorts of people and things, and who knows whatever you want. I mean, a mall, it's a huge enclosed space that you can do all sorts of fun stuff with. And right, I'm not gonna deny that aspect of storytelling is pretty creepy, right? To see from a friend an image of the army outside of that mall, right? And I think we've heard here on the internet for years about, oh, they're gonna turn all the Walmarts into detention camps, and everybody's gonna get shipped into there, and right, there's all this underground infrastructure that's been set up for years, and it you know, I'm willing to suspend my belief for a lot of stuff, but sometimes you do get incredulous. You're like, well, I don't know if this whole agenda 20, 30, 40, 50 thing is ever going to really happen, because a core part of the immobilization, the subjugation of the populace is this fear aspect, right? If you make everybody feel like something horrible, something really scary is going to happen 6 months down the road, a year, maybe even shorter, right? We don't know the exact time frame, but there's an asteroid coup, chemical attack, you know, rapture, like everything is coming all at the same time. There's all these horribly terrifying cataclysmic events that always seem to be just a couple months out. And especially here in the conspiracy community, I've recognized that for the immobilizing power that it can have, right? If you constantly feel like the world is going to end, or that asteroid's coming a couple months from now, 6 months from now, you get this feeling of hopelessness. Like there's nothing you can do. You can't achieve it. You can't break out of it. And you might as well just like sit there and keep doing what you were already doing, and watching TV and smashing that like button maybe, and getting some McDonald's, get some takeout or whatever. But instead of actually planning, or I don't know, doing some real research, or starting that garden, or really working on the project, instead of doing any of that, you just get sort of inured, you get muted, you get, I don't know, confused. And I felt it as well, especially recently. It's like you have all this opportunity as an individual, all this power to achieve something, But when you're swimming in this soup, this soup of fear and death and looming destruction, then it gets hard to. Well, it depends on the vibe you're in, right? It can get hard to achieve stuff and get hard to even just get out of bed because you think, well, what's the point, right? It's all just going to come crashing down at any minute now. But that's what I've noticed, that thing is constantly looming over you, and right, when one thing doesn't happen, they'll just pick up another one down the street. And I think the conspiracy community is just as bad as the news people about this, right? Because well, it definitely gets clicks and gets people interested, but it also has that chilling effect on your soul. And I definitely want to don't like do my part to spread that fear and destruction. I think we're all trying to just get a little more inoculated against that. Maybe that was that the wrong phrase for these days? And the numbers, the numbers help me realize how sometimes we're getting played, right? So here's an interesting one. I didn't check this out, but here's this article: 77-year-old retired. This is obviously all bad. 77-year-old retired police captain murdered by looters. And I guess we're supposed to feel for the looters. I mean, those were the same looters that we were supposed to feel bad about, that were getting kicked out of the church by Mr. President. But these looters were bad, obviously, because they killed this African American police officer. And it's like with all these things, I'm not saying this isn't a real guy, that this didn't really happen. But leading with this number, the 77, and I've talked about this a little bit before, the 7, just like with everything in this world, it's all reversals. The 7 is sold to us as the lucky number 7, but in numerology and all of these esoteric teachings, it is the exact opposite of that. It's the most unstable number you can find in the single digits, right? Made up of even an odd numbers, a 3 and a 4 at its like a base root. So there's unlike an 8, all the other numbers have their own sort of internal stability, right? 2, 3, 4, that they all have sort of their own sort of safe geometries inside themselves. But 7 is completely off balance. It's not made up of the same things. Is it a prime? I don't know. I'm not like a number scientist, but I have noticed definitely for a fact that 7 is that off kilter, unbalancing shit right there. And well, just how surprising my surprise would be to find this story here that is trying to completely unbalance you and make you feel just a little bit crazy, would be leading with this 77. Right? And again, I'm not saying it's good. It's obviously bad. You don't want looters just murdering retired police captain, right? Well, I guess maybe they didn't know he was a police captain, but obviously the way they frame the story and the way they send it all out there, it's meant to get those same feelings with you, right? And again, it's always about the feelings. It's not about the information or what actually happened. It's about how angry you should be now about what happened to this man, Mr. David Dorn. And again, with the repeating, right? D would be the 4th letter in the alphabet. That's a 44. And I mean, you tell me in the comments, man. I'm always focusing on the numbers. Maybe I should just chill on the numbers. Maybe the numbers are, I'm getting that confirmation bias, seeing things in the numbers when I shouldn't be seeing them. But I don't know. I have a feel for that sort of symbolism. That's that literary thing where you can feel that somebody has thought about this and put some effort behind it. And I'm just always feeling it in these news articles, and they're so short, all of them. These news articles that, yeah, it seems weird that there wouldn't be some sort of hidden language communication system built into them. I mean, that's sort of what I would do if I was those fancy types. But if we just look at the list real quick here, and I did want to get into Snowpiercer. Let's get into Snowpiercer in a second. But right, if we look at this basic, this is a refresh from just now, right? And these are articles. I guess the latest is 8 hours ago, right? But we got racism, we got the protesters, we got that that Bible picture. It's sort of these two things vacillating back and forth, right? Protests about George Floyd, racial injustices, race, right? Obviously, heroes happening in these dangerous situations. We can praise them. Churches getting attacked, right? It's all variations on the same theme, and that's I guess when I realized that you're being played. This is all. Doesn't really matter which article you choose from this potpourri. It's still going to elicit the same emotional response from you, right? And I don't know. I would encourage you to ask the next couple questions of why would they try to do that? What would be the advantage of having everybody in the same emotional state? And basically what comes next, right? Because you can read it right here in this little storyline, what is actually happening in the world, and right, and you can infer it basically, because you're not going to read in these news articles what's actually happening in the world. You're going to have to infer it. But if you have the power to see it properly, squint a little bit, then you can really see what's going on, and they will tell you exactly what's coming next. And that's why I want to get into Snowpiercer. But I did briefly want to touch on one of my loyal subscribers, right? I really appreciate you guys. Did remember they harkened back to the days when I was a little more avid on the sky watching, and to be honest, I'm definitely still watching those skies. I think there's also a lot you can learn just by looking up, and right, the knowledge is all around you. I encourage you to look up as well and search for it. I just, it's sort of, I guess, two levels for me. It's definitely a lot of prep and work, especially when I was doing time lapses and all that kind of stuff. Although what I was discovering was also just deeply fascinating. And another is just sort of on a personal level. I mean, yeah, I guess if you guys say it's interesting to see what's going on in my skies, then I can share it with you. But, I guess in the news we can find some more universal appeal in a certain sense. But what I did want to mention right here is a picture of the moon outside of my window, at least in my current location. What I have noticed when this all went down with the CV, with the great event of this year, that a lot of the trails that were going on, a lot of the traffic that was in the sky completely stopped, right? And we were obviously told it was the decrease in air travel and all that kind of stuff. But I do sort of buy into the theory that maybe, just maybe, there was some sort of I don't know, event. Maybe that asteroid really was coming. It was on its way, and a lot of stuff just cleared out of the skies, right? For weeks and weeks, it was just completely clear skies, completely cloudless. Not just no trails or anything, but nothing else, right? None of the other sort of. I have some of those other shapes here, right? There was the good old moon. Not that I could get a good picture of it, and right here I just wanted to share with you the pigeons that are living outside of my house. I do have this sinking suspicion that they're like biological surveillance drones, but that's a subject for another time. We right, and now it's a little different. We are getting these sort of roll clouds and other sort of different formations, but I'd be curious what your experience was as well. Right when this whole crisis went down, the skies were just completely blank and empty, and I did find that I found that very interesting because, well, yeah, I know there's a lot more going on up there than anybody's going to be willing to admit exactly. So I'm going to leave it there. But yeah, let me know what's going on in your sky, though. I'm always curious about this stuff. But let's just dive into the good old Snowpiercer for a second. There's just so much to cover. Yeah, Akina. Unfortunately, I'm not going to give you my Netflix password because it's not even my Netflix account. Yeah, but I'm sure you can find somebody that's willing to give you the Netflix password. So, right, that's the thing about entertainment right now. Everybody's stuck at home. They've probably watched a lot of the stuff that they've been meaning to watch recently, and have sort of ran into a backlog, and with production schedules pushed back for who knows how long. It's hard to know exactly what's going on with entertainment, but on another level, right, I think certain shows, certain aspects of our entertainment experience will have been read into this whole thing that's happening, and will be signaling and symbolizing and playing along with everything that's going on. And yeah, not super surprising to me, the timing of Snowpiercer landing on Netflix. Now, normally on Netflix, they just drop the whole season and they'll let you just binge through it, so you can watch it as quickly as possible. But they have been experimenting with the more traditional format, right? The weekly episodes, and that's something that's coming back with Snowpiercer. And yeah, I would really encourage you to go check out the original movie because it sort of lays it all out there. They're going to take a little more time telling this particular story, but it obviously all lines up perfectly with what's going on here. It's about a bunch of people. The world ended as usual, although they're hinting at the grand solar minimum in this particular show, saying everything froze over, or actually, better yet, that things were getting hotter, and then the scientists made a botched, failed geoengineering plan and accidentally geoengineered the planet into being cold. So now everything is like negative 200 degrees Celsius outside, and so everybody lives on this train, and the train is the only place to be alive as a human. And it's obviously riddled with all the class issues that plague our normal society, right? And I've been seeing this a lot lately, this like locked box concept of humanity and society, and how we're sort of stuck in here together and we have to fight it out and figure it out, and all of those, right, metaphors about teamwork and all that kind of stuff, right? But that also there is the upper class, there's the rich out there, and they've got all the stuff, and, you know, they don't deserve all the stuff. There's less of them, and maybe we can restructure and get some of that good stuff back here to the lower class, right? It feels like a story as old as the whole thing, because yet again, it's these same games, right? It's the same thing as the fear immobilizing you, the positivity, the looking forward to a better future thing. That will also immobilize you, right? If you have that feeling like, well, if we just banded together, we could kill whoever we needed to kill, you know, justly, not inciting violence here, and then society would be better. We'd be able to restructure it ourselves. But if only we could rise up, right, the people from underneath. And if you hear this story enough, if you listen to this story from the right sources, especially if it has nice and glossy production value, then, well, instead of actually doing shit, you can just sit there and watch the TV show, and you still got all those emotions like you were actually doing something, but you did not do something. You just watched the TV show. Which, right, I'll be the first to admit I'm guilty of definitely just watching the TV show and not actually starting the revolution. But I think that's all sort of part of it. But let me run through these lines here really quick. So, I mean, if you got the basic premise, right? There's all these poor people. They're stuck on the train. They can't leave the train. It's too cold outside, so they got to figure out class warfare. And, well, what do you do in class warfare? resistance is never futile. And I also, I just love how they've sort of updated and modernized Snowpiercer. That's the original movie is like, I think Chinese or something, co-production. It's got a really weird vibe, a lot of non-famous, good but bizarre acting, and just a generally sort of bizarre, like weirdly violent style, because I guess it's hard to justify the weird convention of everybody being on a train and trying to survive there. Resistance is never futile, but that's our hero there. But Wilfred's train is a fortress to class, right? And a lot of this is about all this stuff, right? And that's, I guess, the thesis yet again of this particular episode, and probably have many episodes to come, that, right, we were looking at the news, that was printed just minutes ago, and if we dig down deep enough, they're telling the same exact story. It's the same exact thing, that the emotional state that you're supposed to be in after you finish said piece of content is, right? I guess, say it with me, it's like, get ready for change, right? And be willing and happy for the change that is coming, right? Maybe it is perpetual. Maybe we are stuck in these different classes for the rest of our miserable existences, but if we could figure this out, if we can really get ourselves out there, then maybe not. Right, okay, so let's keep going. Resistance never futile. Wilfred's train is a fortress for class, and Wilfred is the guy's name that invented the train. Maybe it is perpetual. And that, I guess this comes partway through the episode, and this is really what I wanted to get into for a second here, right? So they're on this train, but the way they figured the train out, they brought all the good stuff with them. I guess this guy that started the train, he saw this all coming with the environmental collapse and everything, and got it all set up properly, so you can just live on this train in perpetuity. He found some sort of magical engine that, as long as the train keeps going, it doesn't need to stop or do anything. It's like a perpetual motion machine. It has its own energy that pushes it forward. But right, obviously it's still in the world that there's some rough patches out there, and well, yeah, they hit a rough patch and it breaks a bunch of windows, and it just so happens to break all the windows in the car where they're keeping the cattle, the livestock. Right, and just again thinking about how well timed all of this is, you should know. I hope you've heard at this point that there are some supply chain issues going on in America and all around the world. Some actually being created by the crisis, and some being basically pinned on the crisis, that were already long in motion, basically already totally happening. And the general sort of breakdown of our beef supply, it's already been in process. It's already been in process, guys. And now we get to the part of the episode, I guess. What is the problem here? I guess I put in a little transition, and that just has to call the disc up, and it does that thing. That's a really horrible thing. I wish it would stop doing that. I'm just gonna roll this back. Right, and I would just have to pull up. It wouldn't take very long, but there's the Tyson plant shutting down, and they're talking about all these different meat processing facilities, everybody getting infected and everybody having the same result. They got to shut down that whole factory and that whole factory, and well, basically there is just gonna be some protein source shortages coming in our future. And I just was not surprised, but also surprised and shocked and appalled, all of those things, when I saw this happening in Snowpiercer, right? That tip that beef is on its way out. Yeah, wait. I think that's the problem too. Just get a little too crazy with my production value here. You know what I mean? Let's get that out here. Let's zoom that in here. There's just, yeah, I don't know about you guys. Life can be exhausting, overwhelming. All of those details, I find it difficult to navigate these days. Yeah, but I'd love to hear from you guys. See how you're navigating this whole scenario. It's tough out there, right? Thank you, Snowpiercer. Here, I gotta kill the chat for a second here. They're all stuck there back in the back of the back class, right? They're trying to take our dignity. And that's that feeling I get that feeling, right? They're trying to take our dignity. They're trying to dehumanize us, make us all wear the same thing and get your face covered and lose your identity, right? What do you like? Well, it doesn't really matter. Here's the news. Suck it down, you news consumer person. I don't care about your individuality. And, well, just by you reading this article, it may not feel like it right now, right? It's a slow drip, but each article you read reforms you and makes you more like the rest of the slop here in the back of the back class, right? And I honestly do think they sort of think of us that way. And even if they don't, right, even if they love us, they realize the psychological power of this dehumanizing, right? Trying to take our dignity, taking the beef away, taking our clothes away, making you just conform in any possible way, right? And here's just a sort of horrifying scene. This was also in the original movie where they somebody breaks the rules, and well, you get punished for breaking the rules. They stick your hand out the window and smash it with a hammer. But any survivor will tell you they check their dignity at death's door. And I guess that's also the lesson that you need to be learning, right? If you have this self-respect, if you have this dignity, well, then you better chill on that, bro, because it's not healthy. It's not going to get you surviving, exactly, right? So chill on all that. You should definitely chill on all that. The more they steal from us, the more human we become. Which I also thought was a great quote. But I don't know either way. Is that what we're supposed to feel like? Do you feel more human the further we head into whatever this next phase is, right? It almost feels like they're turning the lights out, and that never seems like a good thing. I think you gotta try and stay aware as aware as you possibly can be, especially in this crazy time. All right, I better head out. But I did want to just reflect on what Veronica said here in the chat, right? That they cleared the oceans, so something is going on in the oceans. UFOs from Antarctica, where most of our SSP bodies are, right? Yeah, I definitely see some sort of movement out there. There's movement happening. And I almost feel like there's something really, really crazy maybe was supposed to happen this spring, and maybe it didn't happen, or they dodged something. Maybe some comet that they thought was going to hit didn't hit. But I definitely think there was some actually secondary, tertiary, more important reason for getting everybody to stay inside and stay away from large congregating places, right? Because if there was some major natural disaster that happened, the people, humanity in general, would be a lot easier to manage if they already were sheltering in place at home. And, well, we still seem to be okay. The sky isn't falling outside, although I'm going to go check right now to make sure everything's good with the sky, but I mean, I don't have all the information, guys. I mean, if you were hoping that I would give you that special secret drop about what's actually going on, well, I'm just trying to see it myself, just like you are. But I appreciate you spending the time. If you made it all the way to the end of the stream, well then goddamn, thank you for your attention, and let's do it again sometime. I'm gonna try to get on here as soon as possible. So, my keyboard appears to be a totally, I guess the audio, damn, I guess the audio totally sucks. That's on me. Oh well.